G-Move, man, G-Move.
Thanks for having me, man.
Of course, brother, of course. Welcome to Crypto Down. Welcome to Dubai.
Yeah.
How are you feeling, man?
Second time in Dubai, so it's really warm today.
Yeah.
But I came in the winter last time, so it's a lot cooler. But now it's a little warmer.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last time when you were there, you dropped by the villa as well in November.
Yeah.
And I think you were there with Vinito.
Yeah.
And even Kenny was there.
Yeah.
And we were all watching like India versus Australia, the World Cup, right?
Yeah,
man. Fucking it was sad, bro.
And we lost. Right?
Yeah, we lost, bro. We lost. And there was this one point of time where we were all watching and there's like dead silence in the room and Kenny gets a call from some friend.
Yeah.
And the friend is like, what's up? What are you doing? And Kenny's like, yo, I'm watching cricket. I'm watching India lose. And everyone's like, what the fuck did he just say?
Yeah.
Oh, no, and Kenny's the sweetest guy. We love Kenny. We love Kenny.
He's coming, right?
Yeah, he's coming. He's coming. Yeah.
Better times.
Yep, better times. You raised big bags as well. We'll talk about that soon.
Yeah.
But before we talk about like your fundraise, your like whatever Move is all about, I want to know who the guy behind Move is, right? I want to know who's this guy who's trying to revive a dead language, who's gotten everyone to shill G-Move on Twitter, right? Yeah, bro. So who is Rushi and what's the story?
Yeah, I'm Rushi Manche, co-founder of Movement. Grew up in New Jersey, which is the United States. Was born actually in Illinois. So it was early into like engineering. I started coding when I was 14. My dad was in IT and software, and I was always just really interested in distributed system technology. I worked for United Health Group, which is one of the biggest insurance companies in the States. I helped on-prem database migration to cloud. Some backgrounds like distributed systems, a little bit cryptography, cybersecurity, etc. Got into crypto like 2.5 years ago. Was into like Cosmos and Rust-based engineering back then, and then from there, like I was in college at this point, and I like saw this article that says Facebook's building a blockchain. And to me, this is really exciting because I wrote Solidity, I hated it. I wrote Rust, it was like better, but I was always like, where is adoption coming from? It's just all infrastructure that is just Ponzi schemes of it. It's Ponzi schemes. And it's like the first time the biggest consumer app, like we're all fighting to get Facebook on chain, and Facebook itself wanted to build a programming language for it to power a stablecoin for its billions of users. So the SEC struck down on that, obviously, and America is like going through that stuff. But the thesis was still there. Like Facebook built the language of VM, and they wanted to power consumer and social use cases. That's been Aptos and Sui. In college, I built one of the first dexes in Aptos. My co-founder built the first yield aggregator. So like Uniswap and Yearn on Aptos. Post FTX is like November 2022. We really love the Move language. It's the most secure and fastest VM. I'll get more into that, but wanted to bring it to Ethereum to start the movement thesis.
How did you come across crypto? Did crypto find you, or did you find crypto?
I had a family friend that was really into Cosmos back in the day. Like Sonny from Osmosis was a family friend of mine. My mom's always like, you should get into crypto, look what Sonny's doing. And then I was always just like bewildered. I was like, what is crypto? What is this Cosmos thing? So yeah, just like got into the ecosystem, started engineering here and there, and then the rest took care of itself.
Right. And did you dabble in the Cosmos ecosystem as well?
Yeah, I built some kind of like, I had pet projects like a file coin on Cosmos. The thesis was like, IPFS was really cool at the time, but it didn't have like a UX friendly, like it didn't have a UX friendly app. It didn't have a community really at the time. So I wanted to like, bring the Cosmos app chain thesis to Filecoin. It didn't really get anywhere, it didn't raise capital, but it was just like a fun project.
Yeah. And you dropped out of college, right? You dropped out of NYU. How was that experience?
I dropped out of Vanderbilt, so it was, it's this Nashville, just south of Tennessee. And then my co-founder was 3 years older than me. He was a senior at the time, and I was a freshman, and we both dropped out and started doing Move.
If someone can guess your correct age, they might get like a Move airdrop.
Yeah, we can do that. Awesome. Legal will kill me though.
Awesome, brother. Awesome. All right, let's start like talking about movement, right? So you describe movement as a network of Move-based modular chains, right? But before all of that, what is Move?
Yeah, so Move started from the DM project at Facebook. Back then, this was before Facebook was Meta. Zuckerberg was like, we believe in the metaverse. We're going to go all in on the crypto thesis. This is like 2019, 2020, 2021, that era. And the Facebook team really wanted to do a stable coin on the Facebook app. So imagine like you have money, you want to send it to your mom on WhatsApp, you want to send it to Facebook, Anon on Facebook. You can do that within the app itself. You have stable coin there. So that was generally the thesis of the DM Libra project. They realized they couldn't use the EVM because it just wasn't secure. If they were going to put like a 14-year-old's assets on chain or like a 64-year-old grandma assets on chain, it couldn't get hacked. It had to be high throughput. It has to be a custom blockchain. So they didn't choose EVM. They didn't choose Solana. they built their own VM from scratch called Move. The thesis was DM and Libra, which is the same thing, wanted to build the fastest and most secure blockchain to power Facebook. And then SEC, when it went to production, was like, no, you can't do that. Crypto sucks, and it still is going through all the regulations in the United States. And they struck down on it. It split off into Aptos and Sui, which were the two main research divisions of Libra project, and both are still trying to figure out things. It's like the first year of Solana where the wallet was horrible, the user experience was awful, there's no liquidity, no developers really. So when people are saying oh, Move is dead or language is dead, I would say look back at Solana. Everyone said Solana was dead, and now everyone's oh, Solana's bullish. People will be surprised what happens to them.
But do you think so Aptos and Sui have been in the market for a while now, right? But arguably you've done a much better job at just pushing the Move ecosystem, right? What do you think has been going on with those guys then?
I think we work with Aptos. They're actually investors into a new round, and hats off to Mo and Avery. I think they're really focused on what they're good at research. They're a really good technical team. They're very good at this Silicon Valley partnerships. BlackRock, I don't announce anything here, but there's a lot of institutional partnerships coming to these systems. But I think one thing they need help with, frankly, is community building, approaching in a Web3 native way. And I think that's actually where we're complementary to Aptos. Where Aptos they're better engineers than us, they're better Facebook team than us. They know how to bring in retail and institutionals. We're focused on the meme coin index.
Right.
We're focused on how do we get people in CT talking about us? How do you get mind sharing crypto CT? Because I think the one mistake that these DM programs started off with is when they launched, they focused on Google Cloud, not the DEX.
Right.
So as a builder in Aptos early on, that was my big frustration. They weren't really caring too much about the ecosystem. Now they're doing a much better job, but back then it was to focus on how do we get Google Cloud on, how do we get Amazon on, and didn't really focus on the random 21-year-old builder, right? So I think we're approaching it from a bottoms-up approach, being Web3 native, being very crypto native, and bringing the DeFi culture to Move.
So you're basically focused on bringing the culture to Move, right?
Yeah,
that's what missing is.
Yeah, and I think if we can bring that in combination with what Aptos is doing, then you have the opportunity to make leapfrog move over Solana.
Right. And when it comes to the VM layer of things, right? When it comes to Move VM, how would you describe it? You're bringing parallelization for EVM liquidity right now, right? So what is that about?
So for those that don't know, Block STM is the main parallelization engine. It was built by the DM project. And now Monad's consensus is actually based off of Aptos. Solana, we took some lessons from the book. And most parallelization engines are actually based on Block STM. So Aptos is kind of one of the core contributors to the whole parallelization narrative. I think they just didn't do that better of a job of marketing it, which is unfortunate. But yeah, so the thesis behind Move is you're bringing Block STM, which is the parallelization engine that everyone loves, to all the parallelized narrative that you're seeing right now, as well as security, which arguably is very difficult to sell. It's privacy, where it's much needed. People need it. People love it. And it's a good philosophy for Ethereum. It's not sexy. And there's no security tokens that pump, really, or no privacy tokens that pump. So one of our hardest jobs is making security sexy again, where everyone hates getting hacked. Everyone hates rug pulls, but crypto is so used to the $50 million hack, $100 million hack. It's accepted.
Right.
When in reality, it shouldn't be. If you ever want Bank of America, if you ever want retail to use crypto, they can't get hacked every week. So the way we're trying to make it is kind of disguise the security side, make it a part of the stack, focus on the parallelization, the speed narrative. But the reality is we're bringing the security aspects to Ethereum.
Right. And when it comes to Move, so initially what we saw with Solana as well, right? Building on Solana was difficult because it was a new language. With Move, it's not a new language, but there are not a lot of people who are building on top of it, right? So how do you approach that problem?
Yeah, so we recognize, and actually the way we approach tech stack is that we're fully EVM compatible. So we have an EVM transpiler interpreter called Fractal that lives on top of the VM. So if you're a Solidity developer, you can actually deploy your Solidity smart contracts directly in the VM. It works and looks like an EVM. It doesn't have all the benefits of Move. You don't have as much speed. The security we market is if you're writing Solidity, you will not get the security benefits of Move. But it's a way to provide backwards compatibility, which is an issue that even Solana messed up with when we started off with. They're you have to write Rust or you're not going to build on top of us. The truth of the matter is all liquidity today, or 95% liquidity today, is in the EVM and Ethereum. So how do you get the Ethereum people using Move to start off with and then recognize, hey, Move is better, and convert them? So with the EVM interpreter, we're actually able to cater towards EVM markets while long-term focusing on Move adoption.
Right. And what's the entire tech stack for you guys?
Yeah, so execution layer, you have our Move EVM, so it's a Move virtual machine from the DM project, made fully EVM compatible. You live on Ethereum for settlement. We use ZK fraud proofs right now for the rollup, but eventually we'll build our own ZK Move VM, but we're working on that. And DA right now is Celestia, and then we have our own shared sequencer, which we call M1. So a lot of different moving pieces.
And when it comes to the sequencer, you've been very vocal about having a decentralized sequencer, right?
Yeah, I think if you look at inscriptions, every chain broke down. So like ZK Sync, Arbitrum all went down 150 TPS. They'll actually argue that, oh, we like ZK Sync's arguments, oh, we hit 150 TPS. I'm like, is that a flex? Like, congratulations, you do 150 TPS. Visa's doing like tens to thousands. So like your tech stack probably won't actually scale unless you can parallelize it, bring high throughput blockchains, which they're working on. Like Scroll's working on parallelization now. So I think the thesis is that you want to bring high throughput environments to Ethereum, and that really hasn't been done before.
Right. And so how are you approaching like building an ecosystem around this, right? Because you need like builders, you need people who keep shilling for you, and you need like active people who are evangelizing for you, right? So what's your like go-to-market for that?
I think like being very community driven is in our ethos. Some people call us like a DM Berachain, which is interesting. Where we are builders, we're like young degens. So obviously like getting KOLs involved, getting the people who move markets involved, getting people to shill you on CT and whatnot, but also just like being kind is the most important thing. Like being in the Discords and talking to your builders, being in Telegram, saying Gmove every morning. Like these are things that like most blockchains just like don't do. They like, raise money and send their high horse and they hope people come to them, but that's not true. In today's even bull markets, there's thousands of different chains. There's many different rollups. The question is, how do you get one developer to choose you? And that usually comes from like founder-led BD. Usually, you have to be in the Discords. You have to be posting on Twitter constantly, creating the mind share. Otherwise, no one will come to you.
For the culture.
Yep.
Awesome. And all right, let's talk about like the fundraise now, right? You were telling me the other day that a long time back you had like hundreds, 200 of no's at a stretch, right? And then like things changed once you got a lead VC. So how was that like? And what made you keep going through that period of time?
Me and Cooper were in college. Like we were some idiot kids, so we didn't have like the JP Morgan, the Goldman Sachs, the hot resume that usually VCs want. We were just like two scrappy kids, and the bet was on like why would we invest in it? So when we first started off, it was really difficult, and really fortunate to the people who took bets on us early on. But it was like we don't want to. It's a flight risk, especially in a bear market, right? But I think we just put our heads down, like focused on the community and kept being vocal. Like it was like I was posting this much even in the bear market, and we built a name for ourselves. So like partnerships through KOLs that got involved, and people started talking about us. We made noise, and then eventually for our Series A, lead investor noticed us. Like we talked, kind of figured out the market.
Who were the first few people who like took that early bet for you?
I think the first bet was in ETC with Tekken from DAO 5. He still didn't know how it was. Like we had a few mutual angel investors. George Lampeth is actually was an angel from there, and Smokey is also early angel. Two of them wrote us the first angel checks, and for context, George is probably the best angel investor in the space. He wrote Celestia's first check, Seed Avalanche, Arbitrum, and he was just like, dude, I don't really know what you're doing, but I'm bullish you. So those two, him and Smokey put early angel checks, and then they helped me get connected to Tekken, who's from DAO 5, and he ultimately put a bigger check into our pre-seed. And Tekken's obviously ex-Polychain, has a pretty good name, and I think that was like a vote of confidence that like these guys are more than just kids.
Right. You want to like talk about like your fundraise as well?
Yeah. So I'm super excited to announce the Series A. We raised 38 million, led by Polychain Capital, and we have a field of great backers like Hack VC, Archetype, Maven 11, Placeholder, and some centralized exchanges like Bhai and OKX as well.
Pretty awesome. I think you got like Bankless as well. You got that Ethereum alignment.
Yeah, Bankless as well. So I'm super excited to announce that, and we'll be sharing that shortly.
Yeah, awesome. And when you were going through this fundraise, right, what was going through your mind? Like, what were like some key things that you wanted to close?
Yeah, I think like at this point we had a good amount of momentum. We had pre-seed, like we had a good capital in door. But it was like, how do we compete with the bigger move-based L1s? Like Aptos, we both raised $3 million, but we're not really competing with them. There's other layer 2s like Arbitrum, ZK Sync to raise hundreds of $1 millions. So we were kind of small fish in the pond. And then from there it was like, okay, we need the capital to really scale. And then we obviously got connected to the lead investor, who was Polychain at the time. And they were like, look, we really believe in the mission. This is when alt VMs were kicking up. So you had like Clips focusing on Solana VM. And then we were kind of leaders in the Move VM space. And fortunately, they believed in us. And then the rest of the round came together.
So collectively, you've raised like $41 million,
yeah,
right?
It's like 41.5.
Right. So if you want to like break down the art of fundraising for, let's say, a 21-year-old kid who's sitting in the college dorm and looking at you, right? What are like some 3 actionable items that they could like actually take care of?
Yeah, I think the first thing is to build a network. I was in New York where I was just like going happy hours, meeting friends. There's actually like a group called like NYC Chillers. Shout out if you're watching this. It started off with like 3 friends that were just like one was VC, and actually they were both VCs, but like just both friends, and we slowly expanded that out, and now the group chat's like 55 in there, and it's a bunch of New York City friends. And when I started off like hanging out with people, it wasn't transactional. It wasn't like I'm gonna be friends with you, and then you're gonna invest in me 2 weeks later. It's like I want to get to know you, build trust, build relationships, because ultimately all these investor relations are like founder bets. The technology is like usually the second thought in crypto, especially during bull markets. It's can this founder sell a narrative and sell a dream to public markets? So like building the relationship and trust with a bunch of friends in New York led me to kind of have my own personal network. And then after that, like kind of when I was fundraising, I was able to go to the direct network and be like, look, we're raising, what do you guys think? And A, that helped me a lot of feedback early on. And then B, obviously it's a capital formation. So A, the first topic is like be in a resource heavy city. So that's like New York, San Francisco, maybe Asia, and then raise capital and like and build like a network. The second thing is like be ready to fail, like be ready for 1,000 no's. I would actually encourage you or whoever's listening to this to like probably talk to like the VCs that aren't known first, knowing that they'll say no, but try to get their feedback. So when we started off, our feedback was obviously there's no lead investor at the time. So that's the first usual feedback. But then B, it's like, okay, these guys are founders, they didn't really have tech built out, but it was also like the pitch deck was kind of off, or like they didn't have the narrative to figure it out. So like there's actually good feedback that comes from listening to no. So my second like kind of answer would be like be ready to hear a bunch of no's and learn from each no. What I did is I kept like kind of a Notion doc and like spoke to this investor. This is why they passed. It was always the first answer was like no lead investor, which makes sense. The second answer was like okay, here's specific feedback, and ask for feedback. And I think the third thing was like lean on like be like humble enough to ask for help. So I was fortunate enough to have like early angels and supporters, and I would like, bother them every day. I'm like, okay, can you make this introduction? Can you do this for me? Not in a transactional way, but like I need help. Can you like give some advice? So like having like mentors and advisors that you trust and that believe in you early on, how you kind of get there. I think it's like kind of fundraising is like infection where you create FOMO, where it's like you start off with one person who's like the first kind of infected, and they spread to 2 people, and those spread to 2 people, and eventually FOMO the entire market.
Nice. You've always been very vocal about how Smokey has been like really helpful to you, right? He's like a mentor to you of sorts, right? How has your relationship like been with him?
Yeah, I posted this yesterday. I mean, they just announced the big $100 million raise. So I actually DM'd Smokey like randomly, like he didn't know who I was. I was like, he actually posted a tweet. He was like, I'm like helping out founders, reach out if you're interested. And then I just reached out to him like, hey, here's what I'm building. He's like, I've heard of this. Let's hop on a call. Hops an intro call. Just like I learned about community building, kind of what he like learned. Nothing really happened out of that. And I would text him every now and then for like the next few weeks. I'd be like, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? Can we hop on a follow-on call? And the most important thing that Smokey was he was kind. I didn't have any hype back then. No one knew who I was. But he just took the undivided time. I was like, I'm just gonna help out this kid. So the first start, obviously, he couldn't throw his entire trust and support by him, because he also, what people have to understand is like, when people vouch for people, it's also their reputation online. If I vouch for a scammer, then it's like people will never trust me again, right? So he had to trust me, and then eventually, once he started learning who I was, he started like made one introduction, 2 introductions. I converted those introductions, and that builds momentum. And then those people help me do more introductions. So actually, it's less on him. But then like having that one person who's done what you want to do at the time, and like has arguably one of the most successful founders today, has really been impactful.
Pretty solid. Coming back to Move, right? You have like M1 and M2, right? Which is like the modular layer 1 and modular layer 2. What is like the difference between them, and like how is that playing out?
Yeah, so we're gonna rebrand M2 just movement. So movement is just gonna be M2. Okay. The thesis was like we want to create a layer 2 that's a modular layer 2 that uses the Move VM with Ethereum as element. And then M1 is a sequencer. So my general thesis is today's sequencers are kind of broken in that they don't do high throughput. There's also no token economic model, where most L2 tokens are meme coins today. But what if there's a world where the validators themselves can stake the token to sequence the layer 2, as well as other layer 2s in the network? So like if I'm a validator right now for like zk or Arbitrum, there's not much token value accrual. But what if there's a world where I can stake the token to sequence the network and participate in the network? So that's what M1 is. It's essentially a shared sequencer that sequences the layer 2, which is movement, as well as other layer 2s in the network. And we have some pretty big partnerships being announced.
Right. And all right, when it comes to the M1 shared sequencer, right? Like, can you break down that?
Yeah, so it starts off with the Snowman consensus, which is from Avalanche actually. The thesis is we want like a very low hardware, decentralized consensus that can scale to multiple nodes. If you look at Solana or some of these other like layer 1s, the requirements for running a node are pretty beefy. So it's like you need like a big laptop or computer, and then the minimum stake is a few $1 million. So we want to create a network where anyone can participate within a laptop, stake like a few hundred movement tokens, so not much needed, and then sequence the network. So yeah, using similar consensus, it's leaderless, and sequence is a layer 2, as well as other layer 2s that opt into staking move stack.
Got it. What are your thoughts on Bhai alignment?
Bhai alignment? Yeah. I think that was like Smokey's investment thesis. Like, we need to invest in JEETs, because I think if you look at JEET index funds, you probably outperform like pretty much every Vitalik. If you say minus Vitalik, the JEET ecosystem fund and the JEET founders would actually win.
Right. And are you like a second generation Bhai as well?
Second generation Bhai. My parents from born in Mumbai.
Right.
Some ABCD. I've been to India 3 times. I love India, but I'm American. American Indian.
How do the next 6, 12, and 18 months look for you? What are like your main goals right now?
Yeah, so I always look at from market share, because now I think the face of move unfortunately falls on me, where it's like I have the responsibility of growing the move adoption. So right now, I'd say we're at 3% market share move. I think we'll hit 5% by like the next month or two, with Aptos announcement. I think the goal for 2024 is to get to like 12% to 15% market penetration. Right now it's like 50% EVM, Solana is like 20%, and the rest is distributed. So we want to get 15% by the end of the year, and then by next year we want to get 25%. I think it's very possible, especially because we're the biggest move fundraising announcement in recent history.
Right.
And I think once we do that, we'll have a lot of hype, knock on wood. And then we're going to do like a very community-driven approach to that. So that's in terms of market penetration. In terms of go-to-market, I think we want to position Move as not dead. I think like a lot of the EVM SVM people are just like, oh, like it was 2 VC chains launched and then really didn't do anything. But there's actually a lot of work happening behind the scenes, like a lot of institutional partnerships, and what we're working on is trying to vocalize that and get it into broader mainstream audience. So I think making Move a talking point is another main goal of mine, as well as obviously growing ecosystem. We have some few ecosystem projects already closed rounds. I think we have more ecosystem projects closed rounds than the 2 main L1s itself, which I think is a testament to how we've done ecosystem building. So I think the main focus is growing the system, being founder-led, and then deal with the rest later.
And when chain? When token?
Well, I probably can't say it on camera. We're testing it end of month, and then mainnet around like July, August.
Nice. Have you been following what's happening with like the Solana congestion lately, right?
Yep.
So can we expect that to happen on Move, or why will it not happen on Move?
Well, to start off, there's not much activity on these Aptos and Sweet chains to even warrant congestion today.
Right.
So we're actually seeing a lot of Solana projects migrate over because the chain literally doesn't work. And B, there's actually a different way of parallelization. So Solana's parallelization works in such that developers have to work directly with the consensus engine. So if I'm writing code, I have to manually put in the parameters for parallelization. Block STM is the optimistic parallelization engine. So when I'm writing code, I don't really need to worry about how the consensus parallelizes. I won't get too technical, but essentially, because the parallelization engine is better, you won't have the congestion issues that you're seeing in Solana. Right. And Sui also has now these upgraded validators. So as the network scales, Sui actually is able to upgrade the validator hardware requirements. So I think both Aptos and Sui have designs that prevent congestion like we see in Solana.
Right. And when it comes to Berachain, right, I remember you were saying that, like, for example, games won't work on Berachain, right, because the TPS is so slow. But you're planning to, like, bring Move time to them as well?
Yeah, so I tell Smokey, like, you're going to tap at a 5 TPS. Because they're a DeFi chain, right? They're not, like, really focused on consensus. Like, they're focused on liquidity consensus, but not focused on high throughput engines.
Right.
So if you're actually minting and burning NFTs on Berachain a lot, you'll probably break the chain. So, like, some of the bigger gaming protocols we're looking at to work with, like, a move-based execution layer, so you can use Berachain for liquidity they have and provide like a parallelized VM on top of them. So you have all the benefits of Bera. Like the true testament of Bera is this community. So as long as you're within the Bera ecosystem, you kind of have the value prop of Bera. And if you can put like a parallelized engine on top of it, then you can kind of actually have technology that scales while living with the Bera chain ethos. So there's a few partner protocols that we're looking and working on. It's not a direct focus of the labs. It's more of like with our stack, you can use like different settlement layers. So we actually have a Binance incubated chain called BSC, called Gaiman. I think it's CoinMarketCap incubated actually. That's like essentially gaming L2, and they're using our VM for that.
Got it. And when it comes to like the existing Move ecosystem right now, are there any like ongoing projects that you're excited about? I was reading upon Move Dollar that you guys have posted, right? What is that?
So Tala Labs is the biggest Move protocol. They have like 300 million TVL. And Tala is like, and Adam from Tala is one of the best builders in the space. He worked at Parafy before that. And we're actually their first and probably only cross-chain deployment. So they're bringing all the protocols to Movement, as well as now they're working on like an AVS, which is pretty cool. So Adam's like builder that we were close for the last year and a half. And we're super excited to support it.
Got it. When you're not chronically shilling on Twitter, right? What do you do? What do you like doing other than this?
I don't really have. I genuinely don't have a life outside of this.
Yeah, that's bullish. If you're a crypto founder and if you have a life outside, then that's.
I don't like talk to women anymore. I don't have a hobby. I'm watching Shogun right now, which is like a show, and it's pretty good. So maybe I watch like a show every now and then. But I think like, especially in the bull market, like you're always anxious. I have like really bad anxiety issues, which is bullish. Because I'm just always like working because it's always like. There's always competitors popping up. There's always FUD that comes in. There's always you're fighting some other people. I try to minimize that, but yeah, you're always on edge, so you always have to keep building.
You're always on the move.
Yeah, I'm always on the move. So I think like most of the top crypto founders, like even some leaps like this, is like you're always on edge.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I think like I discussed pretty much everything I wanted to. Very nice having you, brother, and I'll see you pretty much soon on this.
Appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it, man.